Hey everybody, it's Friday, and you know what that means? That means it's time for another episode of Weird Places You Never Knew You Need to Go. Today we're going to talk about a crazy little place that I visited out in the deserts of Southern California, Slab City. Let's go. Slab City is tucked away in the southeastern corner of California in the Sonoran Desert, and it's about 45 miles from Mexico. Slab City is named after the concrete slabs that were left behind. This used to be a military installation and it was called Camp Dunlap. This area was used during World War II. When they were done using the base, they took down all of the structures, but they left behind all of the concrete slabs, which remain there. Slab City is not technically recognized as a town. However, you can find it on maps and it is most definitely a community. Slab City has about 150 permanent year-long residents, and then that grows to about 4,000 in the wintertime. If you have seen the 2007 movie Into the Wild, then you have already seen Slab City. Into the Wild was a film that was based on the life of Chris McCandless, a young man who hitchhiked across America on his way to Alaska to survive in the Alaskan wilderness on his own. The real McCandless ended up in Slab City somewhere around December of 1991, and I'm not exactly sure how long he stayed there. It's very hard to find exact time dates on the internet when I was searching this, but roughly December 1991. The film also features a gentleman named Leonard Knight. Leonard was a real person who actually did live in Slab City, and he was the artist behind the creation called Salvation Mountain.
I've been here since 1984, more or less. But a lot of tourists come in here and they look at that car door up there. They really like it. And I found car doors and put them up there and I bolted it all in.
Where'd you get the telephone poles?
Oh, a lot of people in the valley just love me a lot. Everybody now, I think, in the whole world is just loving me. And I want to have the wisdom to love them back. And that's about it, so I really get excited.
You really believe in love then?
Yeah, totally. And this is a love story that is staggering to everybody in the whole world. That God really loves us a lot. I don't know, does that answer that?
Yeah.
Good. I really love it here. I think the freedom of this place is just so beautiful. To me, I wouldn't move for $10 million unless I had to. So I'm contented here in the desert, and I'm living where I want to live, and I think good gets better.
Slab City is often referred to as the last free place on earth. It's also referred to as the last lawless place on earth. But despite this colorful reputation, it isn't complete anarchy out in Slab City. There are school buses that come to pick up the few kids that live in the area. There are also local police that come and patrol the area. While police do regularly patrol the area, it's my understanding that they do turn a blind eye to some of the illegal activities that do take place out there. Because Slab City is not officially a town or a city, that means that there are no property taxes. Without property taxes, there's no money for services. So this means that in Slab City, there's no water, there's no sewer, there's no garbage pickup, and there's no electricity. So it definitely is a rough way of life. You have to be ready to survive without the comforts and the amenities that you're used to in your home. While they may not have electricity or plumbing, they do have a place where you can pick up UPS and FedEx packages, which is kind of cool. Some of the residents of Slab City have been savvy enough to figure out their ways around the water, electricity, sewage situation. It just sometimes takes a little more creativity than most people are willing to put into things like using the restroom. Other amenities that you can find in Slab City are an internet cafe, a library. There's also a large stage where there's performances, and it's this huge artistic community out in the desert. So I made the brilliant decision to make the trek out to Slab City in the middle of July, which means it was about 112 degrees when I was there. So It was pretty brutal. I did not stay for very long, and I did not get as many pictures or see as much as I wanted to. I will definitely be going back because there is still so much more to see there. And because there were only the permanent residents, I didn't get to see all of the color and the flavors from the residents that come in, like the snowbirds and the ones that come in during the winter months. So I will definitely be making a trip back to Slab City, but I do want to share with you what I was able to see on my first trip there. There's some really cool stuff. So one of the first things you see, the massive mountain, Salvation Mountain, which you saw in the clip from Into the Wild. It was created by Leonard Knight, and he has an interesting story. Leonard Knight had a hot air balloon. His hot air balloon actually crashed out in the desert there at Slab City. And he took this as his sign that he should stay there, and he did. There's an old converted truck at the bottom of the hill, and Leonard made that his home, and he stayed there for over 30 years. Leonard has since passed away, but there are a group of residents out at Slab City who do maintain Salvation Mountain. They also take donations to help upkeep it, and they share about Leonard and his memory and what his message was. And it's really cool. It's a very sweet thing that they do to keep his memory alive, and it's such an amazing, impressive thing to see. Salvation Mountain is 150 feet wide, and it is 50 feet high. It is massive, and it's this ultimate sign of this man's faith and this man's love for his faith. And so it's so beautiful, regardless of what your religious beliefs are. Just the power in this man's conviction and his commitment to love. It's amazing. It's such an incredible thing to see. And the amount of paint, oh my gosh, you guys. So I don't know if it was just because it was a super hot day or if this is just how it always is, but the smell of acrylic paint is overwhelming when you're on the mountain. It was pretty strong, and I almost kind of wonder how, like, if it's the safest thing to be breathing in. I don't know. Like, I don't want to rain on the parade, but it's a little strong. You used to be able to go up the steps to the top of the mountain. There's a little path that's yellow, and it says follow the yellow brick road, and people can go up there, but it was closed for repairs when I was there. I did hear that the original Salvation Mountain did collapse and it had to be rebuilt. I mean, it's made out of straw and adobe and paint, and that's it. So I know that people have to be very careful because with it collapsing and then with the potential that, someone could fall through, I think that's probably why they have it closed off. There's also other areas that are closed off to the public right now. And I'm not sure, again, if that was just because it's the off season or if it's closed for repairs or if it's just not safe for people to go back in there. But even with those areas being closed off, there is still so much amazing stuff that you can see there. As we were making our way around Slab City, we found this little graveyard. And at first we were kind of confused. We didn't know if this was like a person graveyard, but it looks like it's a pet graveyard. There are pets that are buried there, so I'm going to assume it's a pet cemetery. So there's a very sweet little pet cemetery there, and then there is everything that you can imagine. People have these like homesteads almost set up out there, and everybody's place is unique and no one pays rent. The land is owned by I believe it's the Federal Teachers Fund in California. So in theory, they could take this land and say, hey, we want to sell this or we want to develop it. And then all of these people that live out there would have to go because they don't have any legal rights to the land. These people have made this area their home, and they have done it in such a unique and interesting way. You'll see people out there that have solar panels that are in newer RVs or fifth wheels, and they have gardens, and they've got their setup. And then you see other situations where it's not as comfortable, and you're looking at tents made of tarps and things like that, and no gardens, nothing like that. And so it's just interesting to see the difference in how people survive out there. There are some people who obviously thrive, and then there's some people who I think it's a lot harder for. The vast majority of the people who live out in Slab City are typically on some type of government assistance. I believe that the majority of it tends to be Social Security. So these are individuals who do live on a limited income, but what they lack in funds, they make up for in creativity. It is amazing the things that you can find out there. There are cars standing up on end, painted like minions. There are old water towers and just different foundations that are painted in these amazing ways with the most beautiful artwork, and it's all so creative. I mean, all of the things that you see out there, It is mind-blowing what people have taken and have made into art. It's amazing. There are definitely some interesting and colorful characters. There are people who are absolutely harmless and sweet as can be, but there are also other people out there who do struggle with either mental health issues or there is an issue with substance abuse. And so you do need to be careful. And also when you go out to these places that I show you, we also need to be respectful. When I go to these places, I'm very much conscious of this is someone's home and I'm coming into their home. And so I need to be respectful. So I always am very mindful of where I go, how I talk, and how I carry myself in these different places. But I think sometimes especially in a place like this, it's very easy to gawk. And so we want to remember that, these are people, real people that live out there. It is such an interesting vibe. It's such an interesting feeling. The word that kept coming back to me over and over and over again was post-apocalyptic. It really feels post-apocalyptic. The pictures I have, it does not do it justice. It does not capture the true essence of Slab City. And the only way I think you can capture that is by taking the trip and going out there and seeing this place. I definitely think it's worth the time. For me, it was about a 2.5 hour drive one way, but it was definitely worth it. It was worth taking the drive and spending the day, even in the heat, it was definitely worth it because I saw something that I have never seen in my life. And I cannot wait till the weather cools off and I can go back out there and there's more people. There is a stage where they do performances and there's just all kinds of things. But again, there is crime and it can be dangerous. So you do need to be very, very careful. But nowadays, I feel like you need to be careful really anywhere that you go. So that's really all I have today for Slab City. Like I said, I definitely plan on going back and getting more video and more content when more of the regular snowbirds come in and there's more to see. So definitely stay tuned for that either this winter or in the spring because there's so much there that I want to see and that I want to share with you guys. If you like this kind of content, the weird places you never knew you need to go, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel. And also, if you have not already subscribed, please take a moment to click the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified of when I upload new videos, also be sure to hit the notification bell so that you are notified every time I post new content. I'm also on all the social media, so you can check out all my links down below in the description box. And I also have a website. My website is a great hub to find all of my social media, all my videos, everything. So if you are ever looking for me on the internet and you can't find me, just go to www.cosmiccoaching.net and you can find me there. I want to thank you so much for joining me and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.